You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1. Section 1.
You will hear a conversation between a woman who is interested in technology courses and a man who works at a community college.
First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4.
Good afternoon, Trent Town Community College. Greg speaking.
Oh, hi. My name's Emma. I've been looking at your website and I want to ask a few questions about your technology courses.
Of course. How can I help?
Well, a few people in my family are interested in your courses. The first person is my mother-in-law. She's interested in learning basic computer and internet skills.
It sounds like our Technology for Seniors course would suit her.
Yes, I saw that on your website. I can see it covers emailing and social media, but I wondered if it would cover online shopping. She'd like to give this a try.
Actually, I'm not sure. But I can call the person who runs the course and let you know if you like.
That would be great. The next question I had was about the 3D printing course. My daughter's really interested in this. But it says on your website that you need to have your tablet computer to bring with you. She doesn't have one.
I see. Don't worry, she'll be able to use one of our computers here. Her teacher can lend her one. I think I should add this information to that page online. We don't want to discourage people from coming.
Oh, good. Now, my husband is interested in the Create Your Own Website course.
It's very popular. I'd advise enrolling soon for the next one.
Yes, I think he will. But he wants to know about the course book. It says on your website that he'll receive this on the first night of the course, but he'd actually like to get it before the course starts so he can get familiar with the content.
I think this would be okay. Once he's enrolled and paid, I'm happy to send that out to him in the mail.
That's good to know. The last question I have is related to the graphic design course.
Okay.
Your website says that students should attend every class, but I know that I'll have to miss at least one evening because I have a work trip planned. Is that okay?
I'm sure it will be, but I can ask the member of staff. I can then call you and let you know.
That would be great. Thanks.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
OK, So, would you like to start the enrolment process for any of those courses?
Yes, I'll enroll now and I'll ask the others to contact you later.
Sure. I'll just need to write down a few details if that's okay.
That's fine.
So, can I start with your full name?
Yes, it's Emma Steele. That's STEELE.
Thank you. I'll just make a note of that on the student enrolment form. Hang on. My pen's not working. Let me just get another one. OK. Got it.
Great.
OK. And can I get your home address, please?
Yes, it's 3 River Road, Trent Town.
Oh, you're not too far away from the college then. We're on Forest Road, as you probably know.
That's right. I'll be able to walk there.
You're very lucky. You won't get stuck in traffic, like I often do. And can I get your phone number, please?
Sure. I'll give you my mobile. It's 0734 379 562.
OK. Now, we send out a lot of information via email, so can I get an email address for you, please?
Yes, of course. It's reception@cityhealth.cp. I'll pick up the emails at work.
OK, got that. Now, you said you were interested in the graphic design course, is that right?
Yes. When does the next one start? I think I saw September 25th on the website.
We have one before that. Let me see. It's July now. Yes, our next one is August the 18th.
Great. Put me down for that.
OK. And the last thing I want to ask you is how you heard about our courses. For example, was it through a friend?
Actually, I first read about the course in a magazine article when I was at the hairdresser's. I then went to your website to check.
Thanks. Now, we need to discuss payment. So,
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn section 2. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the museum. There are a few points that you need to remember. So before you go in, I'll just run through them. Then you can all go off and have a good time. So, first of all, you've all paid and you all have a ticket that allows you to go anywhere in the museum and includes one trip to the 3D cinema. So you need to make sure that you put the ticket somewhere that is secure but easy to find. This is partly because you'll need to show it to our staff if you decide to go out at any time. There are 2 restaurants which are outdoors, for example, and anyone who does decide to go outside should go and come back through the grey gates. Please don't use the emergency exits unless there really is an emergency. Now, I'm afraid that if you want to take photographs, you have to purchase a permit at the entrance. We don't allow visitors to take photographs of anything in the museum unless they have a permit. If you'd like a picture of you and your friends at any time, just let us know. We have a number of professional photographers who'll take a photo for you. Another thing is that you must keep everything that belongs to you with you all the time. A lot of people will come to the museum during the day. You'll probably be here for most of the day yourselves, so don't lose your wallet. And make sure you don't leave your mobile phone anywhere. It's easily done, and we aren't responsible for any losses while you're here. As I mentioned earlier, you can go and see any of the films that are on in the 3D cinema. I'll tell you about those in a minute. There's also a schedule on the back of the museum guide. I suggest you get to the cinema entrance roughly 5 minutes early. It takes very little time to seat everyone, so you won't be waiting for the show to begin. Well, I think those are all the instructions I need to give you. Are there any...
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Okay, the films which are on today are being shown at different times. They're also about some amazing subjects. Let me tell you a little bit about them. The first one is called The Secrets of the Nile and starts in half an hour at 10 o'clock. It's a beautiful film and it tells the story of the journey that was made down the River Nile for the very first time, starting in the mountains of Ethiopia and passing through the Sudan and Egypt before reaching the Mediterranean Sea. You'll accompany the travellers as they explore some of Africa's truly amazing landscapes. The second film moves off land and into the sea. It's called Wild Ocean, and this one begins at 11:45. So you have some time to look round the museum first if you choose this title. In this film, you'll join the huge number of fish and other animals that live far down near the bottom of the sea. You'll see them search for food, migrate, and fight for survival. Dinosaurs Alive is the third film showing today. It starts at 1:45 p.m. and runs for just 30 minutes. This is a film for people who like special effects because there are plenty of them. Scientists now have a lot of evidence to show that some animals from the dinosaur family are still living on Earth. So in this film, you'll live with a new species of dinosaur that has been recreated using computers. Our final film today is simply titled Arabia. It starts at 2:30 and is a little longer than the others, but it's a really wonderful experience. You'll ride through the desert on a camel. You'll also dive among the treasures of the Red Sea, where you'll explore the ruins of an amazing lost city.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, these are all magical experiences, so I'll let you decide what you want to see. If anyone has any questions at all.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3. Section 3.
You will hear two nature conservation students called Jack and Maria discussing work experience opportunities with the National Park Service in Oregon, USA.
First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Maria.
Hi, Jack. Have you got time to talk about work experience for the summer? I was talking to Dr. Jackson, and she thinks that getting a job with the National Park Service would be really useful for our future careers. But we'll have to submit our applications soon.
Sure. Let me just get my notes up. Right. Well, I found a couple of things that looked interesting. How about you?
Me too.
Okay, you start then.
Well, first of all, there are vacancies for custodial assistants. The duties are fairly general. You work in the offices and in the lecture rooms, and you do cleaning and painting and general repairs.
The work's not exactly in our field, but I suppose in our spare time we'd be able to explore the park and all the programs that are going on there.
Yes, we would. And those positions can be taken up at any time through the year, so we'd be able to apply for dates that fitted in with our university courses.
Let's put it on the short list then, shall we?
Okay. Then, they want information assistants. They are the ones who greet visitors and answer their questions. And sometimes they take tour groups around the park.
Right. I guess they're looking for applicants who get on well with people.
That's right. But I think we both do that pretty well. But if you're not feeling sociable, there are vacancies for laboratory assistants too. You have to wear protective masks for that job, so talking wouldn't be very easy anyway.
And what exactly does the job involve?
Cleaning up artifacts, historical things they unearth in the park.
Is there any training?
It doesn't say so. Perhaps they assume applicants have done that kind of thing before.
And if it's field work, are you allowed to camp out?
No need. You stay in trailers, and there's no charge for them.
That's definitely attractive.
Yes, it is. Okay. And what did you find?
Well, I found an advert for resource assistants. They have to study the wildlife and identify any non-native species that they find in the park, and then enter them on the park's central database.
Really? Well, that would be very relevant for us, wouldn't it? More in line with our course than most of the other jobs.
Well, there was another one for landscape assistants. That's more physical. You have to check the trails through the park and clear them if necessary, and fix any signposts and steps that are damaged.
I really like the sound of that one.
But the thing about that job is that you do the work in teams, and you have to apply as a group of at least 6 people.
But we could probably get some of the other students in our group interested and make a group application. I'll send an email around now to see who's interested.
Okay. It won't hurt to apply for several positions, and then decide which we prefer.
Fine. Then, remember Dr. Jackson said if we're applying for work with the National Park Service, we should prepare an academic presentation that we can give if we get an interview.
Yes, and we said we'd do one on flying insects, didn't we?
We did. So let's just talk it through, shall we?
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Well, look, I've jotted down a list of ideas. Here. What do you think about starting off with the subject of habitats? A general overview.
I think that should work well as an introduction. I'll see if I can find a map or a diagram so that we don't just stand there talking. So there will be something to look at.
Okay. And I thought we could talk a bit about different kinds of traps for catching insects as well. But now I'm not so sure it's a good idea.
I don't really know. We could ask Dr. Jackson for her opinion.
Okay, agreed. I can do that tomorrow.
Great. Then there's the subject of classification. How you go about deciding what kind of insect you're looking at. I think that's too important to leave out.
So that's a definite then.
Okay. Well, I'll do that then. Is that all?
I'd like to spend a few minutes on the topic of insects as part of the human diet because they're very nutritious, they're full of protein, and they could be part of the answer to world food shortages.
I agree with you about that, but our presentation is more from the point of view of studying insects, so I don't think that topic is very relevant.
Oh, I see what you mean. Let's leave it then. And also, I've written down environmental benefits too, but I've changed my mind now. We've only got 15 minutes for this presentation.
Yes, and that's such a big topic. I think we've got enough to talk about without that. Let's divide up the work, and that way...
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4. Section 4.
You will hear a professor giving a lecture on urban planning.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
If you were able to make changes to your city, what would they be? Who would benefit from them? Who would suffer? Being an urban planner isn't an easy job. For example, you have to deal with inhabitants who disagree with your plans and fight for financial support, all of which takes time and patience. But essentially, there are two key things that an urban planner does. Firstly, make sure that new structures do what they're designed to do. A new block of flats should have the facilities to provide good, comfortable and safe living accommodation, for instance. The second thing is to be sure that the structures are visually appealing and fit into the local surroundings. Well, in order to make sure this happens effectively, there's a procedure that planners across the country generally follow, and I'd like to talk you through that process. At first, they think about their vision, what exactly they want from this plan. And from this vision, they choose the goals that they want to achieve. These could be, for example, to reduce traffic on the inner city road network during rush hour, or to build a new apartment block to provide more housing for an overcrowded area. The next step is to collect data and then put together draft 1 of the plan. They don't actually show the first draft to anyone at this stage. Instead, the planner reads it and the content is revised. Remember that this stage of the process can take a lot of time and requires a lot of very detailed work, but it's better to get things right at the beginning. So now the planner has the second draft. Unlike draft 1, this draft is given to a planning team who read it and pose a lot of questions. They also make recommendations and help the planner to get the plan just right. The plan is rewritten and the third draft is produced. The next step of the process is to get the views of local people. They're invited to attend a consultation event where the plans are laid out. People can ask questions and give suggestions too, or challenge the proposal if they want to. The planner then incorporates their points of view into the plan. The last stage is for the planner to write the fourth and final draft and hand this over to the local city council, where key decision makers read it, debate it, and decide whether or not it should be implemented or rejected. Now, this all sounds fairly straightforward, but believe me, the process is not at all simple. There are many elements to planning that make it extremely challenging. One of these is the fact that a large amount of the town is not owned by local government. They own the streets and public buildings, but the rest is owned by individuals. So, what would you do if you needed to build a new road through the city to reduce traffic problems? How would you feel if you had to destroy 50 homes in order to do this? Planners do their best to keep everyone happy, but few plans achieve this, and difficult decisions have to be made. Another issue is past planning. Urban planning isn't a new phenomenon. Most towns have grown from small villages over the last few hundred years, with thousands of people making decisions about how they should change. All of those decisions were made at a time when needs, architecture, and technology were all very different. The current planner has to live with the effects of those decisions. For example, they might have to work with streets that are too narrow for large vehicles. A final challenge is the fact that the planner has to see into the future and predict what people will want and need 20 or more years from now. For instance, what a smart home might look like. How would you do this if you were a planner? After all, no one can really see into the future. I'm sure planners of the 1960s had no idea just what city life would be like for people today, but they had to guess. So, to sum up, urban planning is potentially very exciting. You get to change the way people live. But you also have to make and live with some difficult decisions.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test. In the IELTS test, you would now have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.